Ivan Katz here, and behind me are 9 Fender Mustang and Fender Mustang related guitars and a bass as well. And I'm going to talk you through the history of the Fender Mustang and show you why I love them so much. The Fender Mustang story actually starts with the Fender Music Master and the Duo Sonic. Basically, they were student model guitars and basses, and they started off with sort of this shape and either 1 or 2 pickups for the Duo Sonic. This particular example is a mid-60s Music Master bass. In 1964, Fender introduced the Mustang. It was also a student model, and it had basically a different vibrato right here, and it had a tone and a volume and of course your input, and then it had an interesting configuration for the pickups. Now Mustangs are famous because a lot of people modify them, and these are not the original pickups here. These are the original pickups, and this is a 1975 model in competition blue. More on that later, but basically it had a shorter scale neck. They did actually introduce a regular longer scale neck for a while, but this one proved more popular, and it's really the most prevalent of all Fender Mustangs available. Now they were originally introduced in red, white, and blue colors, and basically that's what you see here. Red, white, and blue. Now I know that's yellow, but what happened really is a lot of these faded over the years. They were originally actually white, and many of them look like an off-white color, or they've just been modified and painted a different color or stained a different color altogether. Now starting in 1964, Fender came out with what they call the competition stripe. This one's competition blue. They came in competition blue, red, or orange actually, and it was actually introduced because of the Shelby Mustang racing stripes. So it is car related, and I think that's just super cool. Anyway, this is my first guitar. It's a 1975 Fender Mustang, and ever since I started playing this, I really became a great fan of these guitars. Very easy to play. I was 12 years old, as I said, when I got it, so it was super easy to learn on because it has a smaller neck, and once you get used to that neck, man, it's hard to go with anything else. And thus, as you see, my collection has grown. I really love Fender Mustangs, and I just keep acquiring them because I just love the way they look, and I love the way they play, and I love the way they sound too, and the versatility as well. Now lots of times if you had competition blue, especially on the vintage models from the 60s, you also had a matching blue headstock, but this is not the case with this one, although it is a 1975. This is actually a mid-60s modeled Fender Mustang, but many of these were modified because they were so easy to modify, and this one has the pickup selector in a different place, still has the tone and the volume, but it has a different bridge down here, and humbucking pickup here, and a Fender lace pickup right here. It also has these non-original guitar tuners, which tend to be a bit more reliable and stay in tune better than these earlier plastic ones. Note the earlier plastic ones on my 64 as well. So a lot of them, as I said, have been customized, and this 1964 model is no exception here with these pretty cool pickups installed. Later on in the 70s, they introduced new colors. They came out with black, blonde, and also this walnut color. This one is a 1978 that's really in pristine condition. Even came with the original case. It even came with the original case. The silver ones here are original, and it's definitely a real survivor. It just looks totally original and really looks just like it came out of the factory, or perhaps the first day they brought it home from the store. I actually got it from the original owner, who must have kept it in the case all the time, and wow, this is a really, really nice Fender Mustang, in my opinion. So moving on, the story for the original Fender Mustang ends in 1982. That's when they stopped production. A lot of very famous kind of progressive alternative musicians use these from the Talking Heads, Red Hot Chili Peppers, you had Sonic Youth, and also Liz Phair. And so in the 90s, they decided to reintroduce them. And what they came out with was this one right here. This is a Japanese reissue, and it's pretty hard to tell it apart from my 1975 version. Of course, there are the different tuners, but other than that, you can see the color is a little different, certainly, but very similar in look and spirit, but probably a little better in terms of staying in tune and that sort of thing because of these tuners. And actually, that's the reason I actually use this one on stage. I really like it. I like the sound. I like the flexibility. You can really change the sound with these pickups and the tone as well. And so they really took off again in the 90s. And of course, that's in no small part thanks to Kurt Cobain. This one is a Kurt Cobain special edition. Of course, he's the guitar player, singer-songwriter from Nirvana. And you can see it in their Smells Like Teen Spirit video. But I actually was a little put off by the fact that that guitar became such an icon after I had had that guitar much earlier, a decade earlier as a matter of fact. And well, you know, I still play mine, but it's not because I'm a huge Nirvana fan. I do really like Nirvana, and I like the Foo Fighters, and but more, I like the Fender Mustang. And it just so happens, as I said, that this is my first guitar. Now, this Kurt Cobain copy is actually a 2012 version, and it has a Seymour Duncan pickup and also a Fender lace sensor pickup as well. And it was available in right and left-handed versions, which is kind of cool because Kurt was left-handed. So it's the first Fender Mustang that was actually made in a left-handed version. Now, an interesting fact, going back in time a bit, Gibson was kind of envious of Fender's success with the Mustang, so they went ahead and built the Kalamazoo, which you see here, from 1965 to 1968. It was really an exact copy of the Fender Mustang, and kind of funny, same offset body, and really, I guess it was more a Music Master copy in this case because it only has one pickup, but that was to keep the price down, I'm sure, and it's still a very cool guitar, I think. I definitely like the feel of the Fender Mustang better, but this is a small scale neck and it feels actually very similar to the Fender Mustang, and I think they did a good job in copying the Mustang, and that's why I picked it up, because I just thought it was so cool, and it's basically Gibson's Fender Mustang. Now, another interesting fact, after they copied the Fender Mustang with the Kalamazoo here, the next one they introduced after that was a copy of the Gibson SG. Just like it in fact, but really just a less expensive version. So thankfully the Fender Mustang story continues on to this day even. In 2011 they came out with a pawn shop series, and then they came out with, in 2012, a Squire vintage modified series of Fender Mustang, and then you had the P90, the modern player version, and also the American Special Mustang, and those are pretty pricey actually, and that's because they're made more in line with the vintage guitars, and they're certainly made to be players as well. But lately, and this guitar included, Fender has reintroduced the Squire Mustang HH, I believe they call it, and you can get it in this color, surf green or white or black. I've seen it in blue as well, but it's actually pretty good representation of the earlier Fender Mustangs. I think they've done a really good job, and I was happy to pick this one up recently, really inexpensively, I think, and it's certainly a fun guitar. You wouldn't be scared to take it out and gig with it and get it banged up a little bit, or even just totally customize it like these earlier ones have been customized. You know, they don't get customized as much anymore because when they look like this or when they look like this, they tend to be worth more because they are in fact vintage and as they were produced back in the day. But to me, I'm glad they've got a Squire edition. If you are a person who's thinking about playing guitar or just a beginner, I would not hesitate to go out and buy one of these Squire Mustangs or one of the other Mustangs, maybe the 90 version or anything else that you could find for a decent price, because they are just so playable and really just such great guitars. I have really fallen in love with them, as you can see, and continue to collect them. And man, I just love them. And the versatility is really something. You can put them really in and out of phase. You would think that this one controls this pickup and that one controls this pickup, but basically it just adjusts the phase, and you have a tone button and a volume as well, as I said earlier. So you really can get infinite sounds out of these, and especially if you have a customized one that you have a humbucking pickup and also a single coil, well, you can just get infinite sounds, either clean or distorted, and it really gives you great flexibility. But there you go, that's the complete story of the Fender Mustang, starting with this, as I said, 60s version right here, and moving on to my mid-70s version here, and late 70s there. This one also a 60s version, but custom, and Kurt Cobain Special Edition, the Japanese version, and on up until the latest example here. Thanks for watching this history on the Mustang guitar. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter and Instagram, and subscribe to me here on YouTube. Check out all of my other music videos, also guitar review videos, Drivin Ivan car review videos, my disc golf videos and documentaries, and my literal video as well for Chris Isaac's Wicked Game. I'm Ivan Katz.